Hey everyone, Rob from Southgate Media Group here. Before we get started with this podcast, we have a quick message. If this is your first time checking out the show, we love that you found us and we really hope you enjoy it. What we have to say is for the subscribers. If you enjoy our shows, would you please donate to help keep these going? We don't want to have to put traditional ads on these shows, but this does cost money. So we really do rely heavily on donations. To make a donation to the show, please go to our website, www.southgatemediagroup.com. Go to the page for the show, and in the upper right-hand corner is a donate button. It takes you right to PayPal, and you can donate whatever amount you want. Thanks a lot for listening, everybody. And now on with the show.
Hello everyone, and welcome to the All New Marvel Roundup. I am Phil Parrish, and with me as usual is...
Charlie Esser.
And we got a lot of books to cover, so let's jump in. I will start with mine. I got Captain Marvel 14. It is a Black Vortex crossover. It's chapter 11. Going bankrupt. And this one is basically... Most of the whole story is just... Carol trying to keep the Black Vortex away from some of the aliens who are trying to take it. And she thinks, I don't know if I have a chance against some of these, souped up aliens. So she's looking into the Black Vortex, and I guess it's teasing her with the possibility of, I can charge you up, give you back your old binary form.
Oh boy.
Yeah, but in the end she doesn't succumb, and...
Yay!
And as with the other 10 other issues before this, in the crossover, it's to be continued, so...
Okay. Just say no to Black Vortex, kids.
That's what we keep saying. But, it was short and to the point, but I liked it. I give it a thumbs up.
Good.
Next is Hawkeye number 2, which is kind of funny, because this is number 2 of this new series, and they still haven't released the last issue of the last series yet. Maybe after Secret Wars, who knows?
Yes, well, could be very important.
Yeah. Well, once again, we see Clint Barton and Kate Bishop. They've defeated the Hydra sect they were battling, and they free I guess their children that were being experimented on. They seem to have mental powers where they can control people. And the Hydra people keep screaming, no, don't let them out, don't let them out. But the children keep telling Kate, take us home, take us home. So they free the kids, and they're going to take them home.
Oh boy, this is going to be one of those situations where you say, we should have listened to Hydra, isn't it?
Hail Hydra. But,
yes. Well, I'm just saying, it's like, no, they're really horrifyingly dangerous monsters. Don't let them out. We're not monsters. Let us out. We want to play with you forever.
That's about it, except instead of play with us, it's take us home.
Yeah.
But
forever.
we also get flashbacks intertwined with the main story of Clint's childhood and how him and his brother were... Well, basically about to get their lights knocked out by, I guess, whatever foster father they were with at the time, until they're saved by and taken into the circus by the swordsman.
Yay, swordsman.
So I guess we're going to see more of the swordsman in the carnival coming up.
Oh, that's good.
But good issue. Once again, thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
And then next is Bucky Barnes, the Winter Soldier. This is basically, I guess, an origin story of the alternate universe Crossbones that's been going after Bucky.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't know what's going on at first. You see a child, and he's taken care of by a robot caretaker, and like the caretaker keeps calling the child Nicholas, and I'm like, I didn't think that was Crossbones' name, but I guess in this alternate reality. And he seems to have issue. Well, the way we see he has issues with Bucky eventually is that he keeps talking about his father fighting in a war with Captain America and Bucky.
Mm-hmm.
And in the end, they show him as a grown-up Crossbones. He's seen a lot. I think. Well, they've showed him going from alternate realities and killing superheroes. There's one where he kills Tony Stark, yada yada. But in the end, they reveal his full name, which is, I guess, in that universe, Nicholas Fury Jr.
Yeah, saw that coming.
Did you?
Yeah, well, as soon as you said they were calling him Nicholas, I was like, oh, Nicholas Fury.
Yep.
But not a black Nicholas Fury.
No, a white Nicholas Fury Jr.
Okay.
All right. Well, did I say thumbs up? It was a good one.
Good.
One of the better Buckies I think I read. And Guardians 3000, number 7. Very good issue. We see the future Guardians of the Galaxy and the present meet. They finally had the ally because they're fighting off these androids that came back with the future Guardians that were part of the Stark. They're calling them A-Sentinents or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And supposedly they figure out the robots are just trying to take care of a temporal anomaly, and they're like, and the future Guardians are like, are we the temporal anomaly? So they have Starhawk like block their presence, and then the robots can't read them. And then they're like, okay, well, there's one more temporal anomaly. Let's follow the robots to it. And at first, they check all the evidence. They check a grave, and there's bodies there. But the trail leads them to Forest Hills, and the person they suspected was the temporal anomaly in Forest Hills. Do you want to take a guess, Charlie?
Aunt May or Spider-Man?
No. Captain Marvel is familiar with this person from her time with the Avengers the first time.
Huh, in Forest Hill.
And the future Guardians kind of were also.
Is it Rogue?
No, this person killed Captain Marvel and the future Guardians and then eventually brought them back to life.
Yeah. Okay, I'm lost. Who's our temporal anomaly?
Well, in the last page, it's revealed to be Michael Korvac.
Oh, Korvac!
Yes.
Good old Korvac.
So he was the temporal anomaly, so.
Well, he is a temporal anomaly. And Secret Wars Battle Zone tie-in in the Guardians of the Galaxy, they actually are... He's the good guy. Korvac's the hero. Or at least that's what we're starting out with. I don't know.
Yeah, this version could be him because, like they said, they went to the grave and supposedly there was his body in there, but then they go to the house and there he is.
Bum, bum, bum.
So, big thumbs up, and that is the last one I read on my own. What did you read, Charlie?
Okay, this week, for my... I have 3 books I read without you, and that is Howard the Duck, S.H.I.E.L.D., inspired by the hit TV series, and then Avengers World, Before Time Runs Out, Secret Wars. So let's start off with Howard the Duck, trapped in a world he's grown accustomed to. As you may recall, the last episode, Howard got taken by one of the collector's gatherers, and we realized the reason the collector wasn't doing his own collecting was that he was at CosmoCon. When they do a quick little shot at CosmoCon, and I don't know if that's a Celestial cosplaying as Galactus or that's actually Galactus at CosmoCon, but it's pretty cool. Yeah, it's very interesting to see because you really don't know who is cosplaying and who is not. You know, is that an actual African American watcher, or obviously not African American, but is it a black watcher? Do they have black watchers, or is that just someone cosplaying as a watcher? You don't know, and that's what makes it fun. But that's just one panel of gags to be looked at. What we find out here is that Howard, who is in a cell with, of course, Rocket. Rocket breaks out. As it turns out, what the collector's trying to do, because before all things ends, he wants to collect all the unique creatures of the universe, and he's going to take their DNA to create a mating pair, so that essentially they'd make a female Howard the Duck out of his own DNA, which is kind of weird if you ask me. But the idea is to create a pair which they will then carry on the legacy of Duck World forever. However, this Rocket's being captured was something of a ruse, as he is there expressly so that the Guardians can reclaim a heart of a Celestial, which is something that when a Celestial dies, although recently we had a lot of Celestials die, but here in this book, one Celestial died, and they they compress him down to his heart, and they put the heart in a planet, and the planet becomes full of life and a wondrous place. But of course, with the heart removed, that planet is dying. So the Guardians are reclaiming the heart to take it back to the world. And as they're leaving, they take a bunch of the other people who are being held prisoner by the Collector with them. But of course, they can't fit them all on the ship. And Howard is really upset about all the people they have to leave behind. And the Guardians are saying, no, we'll go back for them. We promise, all this kind of stuff. And, Howard, he just does not believe that bald apes keep their promises. But interestingly enough, when he gets back to Earth, there's Spidey still at the shrine he's built to Howard, because he's just been so sad since he thought Howard died. He tracks down his friend in a at the tattoo parlor, where they're being held up by Aunt May, of all people. That's crazy. I'm sorry?
I said, what? They're being held up by Aunt May?
They're being held. It's an old lady with a gun. Says, give me all your expletive money, or I'll expletivingly drop you, dear. Says, next issue, Aunt May's finally got a gun. Does she know how to use it? Yes. So, Aunt May, turning criminal. Now, for those who don't recall, Aunt May does have a criminal past. Well, she dated a criminal. She dated when she was young. She's kind of a wild girl. And Ben was like the nice, upstanding guy that she was dating, but there was also this roughneck she was dating. And, for those who don't know, he hid money in May's house, and that is what the robber was actually looking for when he shot Ben Parker. Then in a little side bit, we have a little funny courtroom drama as Power Man and Iron Fist are suing Howard for copyright infringement, as he's been describing himself as a hireable hero. But it's cute. It's funny. Howard's lawyer is trying to imply that he's Spider-Man because, as they say, since Matt Murdock has been outed as Daredevil, all these shyster lawyers are trying to imply that they too might be superheroes. Howard, of course, loses the case, and that sums up the wackiness of Howard. Big thumbs up, as always, for Howard. The funny bit at the end was nice, but throughout the middle of it, man, I have to tell you, for a book that is based in a comedic concept, they squeeze such pathos out of Howard. It is truly wonderful. You really get to see him as the one. The Duck is the sane man in the insane Marvel universe, which we'll get back to when we talk about Deadpool 250. But really, you see that very much in Howard's presentation here, that he is the lone person in the Marvel universe who can see how crazy it is, or at least that's how it appears. Next, we have S.H.I.E.L.D. For those who don't recall, S.H.I.E.L.D. is the book featuring Coulson and Gemma, and occasionally that's Gemma Simmons, and occasionally Leopold Fitz. And in this storyline, Coulson is attempting. So what Coulson does is he is a studier of superpowered beings. Tied into the TV show, he is a collector of superpowered beings. And here he picks the perfect superhuman to send on various missions for various reasons. In this storyline, Hydra has been laundering money through the South African diamond mine, and the accountant is the only person who realizes that what's been going on. And Sue Storm has been sent in to extract this person, not realizing that they not only put him at the bottom of the deepest mine in South Africa, but also put a bomb in his chest to make sure that he could never leave with the information he had. And two groups apparently tried to extract him. One sent the Mole Man, and the other, S.H.I.E.L.D., sent Sue Storm. Now, it will be interesting to see if there's some tie-in with the Mole Man later, but for right now, this becomes a really great bit for Sue and Coulson. They have a good talk together, and this is very traumatic for Sue because Coulson says, "I know this is what the Skrulls did to your dad." That for those who don't remember, when the Invincible Man, who was the Super Skrull, was attacking, he was doing it in the guise of Franklin Storm. And when they sent Franklin Storm back, they had placed a bomb in his chest, hoping that would kill the Fantastic Four. And it did not. It just killed Franklin Storm. So in this case, Sue Storm got to save the guy by using her invisible powers to turn the bomb invisible, find its power source, and cut it off from the rest of the bomb. Because as she learned from her brother Johnny earlier in that issue, a machine without fuel does not work. So if you can cut it off from its fuel, it won't explode. Thumbs up for it. I do like the S.H.I.E.L.D. series. I have to say this is probably one of my favorite ones, possibly just because it has Sue Storm in it, and I'm a big Fantastic Four fan all around. Also makes the point that this is actually sort of Sue's sideline. That no one else in the FF knows this, but Sue is a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent and has been running these covert ops for them for years. Final book that I read on my own. Big thumbs up for S.H.I.E.L.D. If you're not reading it, you might want to. It's fun. Final book, we have Avengers World, where we have the finalization of Roberto's, a.k.a. Sunspot's, takeover of AIM. And so this predates, this is sort of giving us the backstory of how he sent Thor and Hyperion into the Abyss, not the Abyss, into the Beyond to find the Beyonders. And you also have a side note in this, which also has Starbrand and Night Mask in a fight with the Map Makers, which was again tied into. It's kind of interesting because this book came after the book that we saw with Avengers last week, and this very much sort of gives you the backstory of this fills in some missing gaps. Pretty good. It's Roberto basically beating the Scientist Supreme to take back AIM, and really making this point that AIM is AIM, as he said. If you're an evil organization running yourself as a evil corporation, you leave yourself open for hostile takeovers, and this is a very hostile takeover. Monica Rapacini and Andrew Forson swear their vengeance, and they will be back, but it doesn't matter. Roberto and Hyperion win the day, have AIM now as a force for good, and they do their best to try and stop the end times. But you know what? That doesn't work out, I think. Thumbs up there, too. This was a good book, fun read, very adventurous, very exciting, and it doesn't necessarily get you any closer to understanding the incursions, but gives you those nice human stories of the brave fictional characters trying to prevent the end of all things. Which brings us to the last 4 books that we both read. What do you want to start with?
You want to start with Ant-Man?
Let's start with Ant-Man. Now, I got the Miami Vice variant cover, and I have to say, that is lovely. Did you get the Miami Vice variant? I'm sorry?
I said, is that a variant? Because I got it, too.
I think there is another cover. Maybe this is the main cover and the other one was the variant, but this is the more cooler cover. So I remember on CBR, it looked like it was one of a couple different covers. But so this is... so what did you think?
I don't know. I liked it. Once again, you have, like, what I want to say, callbacks to Scott Lang's origin from Marvel Premiere.
Mm-hmm.
What I don't like, though, is they went after Casey's heart because they said the Pym particles, so they didn't retcon her time as Stature, but she seems younger than when she was Stature.
Well, Casey's, for what it's worth, Cassie Lang.
Cassie, that's it.
Yes, as a young person in the Marvel universe, her age is variable, which we'll get into a bit about because that's all the Beyonders doing, I'm sure. Her age is variable. She is in high school, I think, right?
I think
What's
so.
she in junior high now? I'm not quite sure where they're putting her, but the reality is that they and for what it's worth, yes, she is stature. Essentially, she may be pre-stature in this, but I believe there's two ways you can argue it. One is they don't know she's pre-stature, which is very much a possibility, and two, even if they do know she's pre-stature, she will become stature because I don't think Cassie was ever really exposed. Like I don't know the story, but I don't think she was like intending to have super growth powers because it was very much tied to her anatomy. I think it was just something that through whatever reason she was exposed to, and that's how the powers developed. So I think somehow Cassie just got herself infused with Pym particles over the years, and that is why she became stature, as opposed to actively using Pym particles the way that other heroes do. To give themselves that power. And I know that after you've been exposed to Pym particles for a while, you sort of get this ability because after a while it just got to be too much trouble to have something else that you always had to have with you. So they just allowed it so that once you were exposed to enough Pym particles, you could actually control the Pym particles. So yeah, so I mean, it's an interesting point to bring up, and it really does make problems for the story. But that may be why they live, because maybe they're assuming things about this heart that simply aren't in evidence. Because obviously these people are crazy. One thing that kind of bugged me in this is Machine Smith. I mean, granted, Machine Smith isn't necessarily, the greatest supervillain ever told, but given that his last storyline was was him going toe to toe with Captain America as a supervillain genius, it's a little odd seeing him getting beaten up by preschoolers. Of course, that again, this goes to what I think is what you can call the variable nature of this fictional universe is that, who you were before things got manipulated isn't necessarily who you're going to be after. And so this is where Machine Man is. He's been, to some extent, taken down several rungs and left here. And of course, Crossfire similarly is being, kind of played for laughs. Although I do like the idea of Ant-Man, sort of becoming this home for D-list supervillains who want to go straight. Sort of Ant-Man creating his own Thunderbolts. It could be good. And thinking of it within those terms, I think that could be a really positive thing for this storyline. If that's something that we wind up with, where Ant-Man's going to have this whole team of ex-villains. Of course, one hopes that doesn't wind up coming to bite Scott Lang in the petard, as one might imagine it does. Thumbs up for the book. It's first off, thumbs up just on the cover alone. If you're ever going to judge a book by a cover, this is a good cover to judge it by, and it is a fun cover, and the story's pretty good too.
Although the car on the cover isn't their mode of transportation.
No, it is not the Ant Van. I think everyone would have been much happier if the Ant Van had been a yellow Porsche. But is it a Porsche or a Lamborghini? I think that's a Porsche.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a good book, a good story. And Daniel and Mr. Cross's son is just an insane idiot. And yeah, he just reminds me of one of Mom's boys, from Futurama. And it is just so messed up. But, I guess if you're a billionaire in a world of supervillains, being messed up just goes with the story,
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. Crazy. Anyway, moving right along. Spider-Man 2099.
You read my mind.
I'm sorry?
I said you read my mind.
Yeah, Spider-Man 2099. Well, it was next in the stack, too. In which Comic Book Girl 19, just spoilers, bites a radioactive Spider-Man and gains superpowers. I don't know if that was supposed to be intentional, that she bites the radioactive Spider-Man and then becomes this like brood queen fly monster who wants to eat people, I assume. But little backstory. So coming back from the future, Spider-Man 2099 decides to give what is her name? Tempest. Give Tempest the cure for cancer. Because, why not? What could saving a person's life in the past possibly do to the future that I'm so worried about protecting? And then again, I guess it's this idea that, well, if you could come back from the future and you could save someone's life, that's great. But then you have to think, well, yeah, but there's also billions of people on the planet dying of, well, not billions, but millions dying of cancer. And he's only saving one. So, I mean, granted, he's saving one that he knows and all that, but just kind of, I don't know. It's weird to me, the whole idea of saving someone with cancer, with your cancer powers from the future, when you could be saving everybody, Heck, he could go to Parker Industries and say, you know what, you don't have to build a prison. Have the cure for cancer.
But he wants Parker to build the prison.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
So Alchemax doesn't start World War III.
Yeah, I don't even know how that follows. But here's what I found most interesting. We have, speaking of B-rate villains, we have the Spot here. And he's fighting Spider-Man, but he doesn't say anything. And I'm wondering if the Spot is actually having a problem here, if his powers are malfunctioning. And, and maybe he's trying to reach out to Spider-Man for help. I don't know, because it seems really weird how his powers are working. And I'm wondering if this is multiversal Spots reaching through him, or exactly how this is happening. Because the Spot's power is he was trying to create a portal to Cloak's dimension, Cloak and Dagger, to harness the Dark Force and master teleportation. But the portal he created was flawed, and so he came out, instead of just one black mass of the Dark Force, he was this guy who was sort of a mix of these dark spots, and the spots open up into other dimensions, and that's how he uses that to teleport. But yeah, so I'm taken aback by that, because there's no explanation for it, and I wonder if this is something that's meant to be a clue or what, or if it's just something that's something that you can say, or that the writer said, oh, you know what, I bet you if everything was going on, that this is how the Spot would react. And it's not really tied to anything larger, but it's just an evidence of how the universe is about to be destroyed. And now, what do you think? Do you think it was the biting of Miguel that caused the mutation, or do you think it was the cure for cancer that caused the mutation? Or do you think it was... I
don't know. That was my question. Yeah. I was like, was it an experimental drug? It could have been the bite.
Yeah, and it also might have been something like it was like key to her genetics, and once she bit him, that radioactive spider venom altered her genetics and messed up what the cure was doing. I just find it funny that she bit a radioactive Spider-Man. It's because you never think what happens then, and now you turn into a big fly wasp woman. Okay.
Although he's not radioactive.
Yes. I'll give it a thumbs up. These are, this was a good week for books, I gotta say. I liked it.
Yes, good week.
Yeah. Let's move on to Hulk with Deadpool's second to last appearance. Because he is worried. He says, I can't die in this. I have to survive to make it to my own book to die.
Oh, yeah. And,
man, I gotta say, Ross is the strongest one there is, because here he gets shot with radiation absorbing bullet, counteracting absorbing bullet, and yet he still beats Doc Green. And it reminds me of a fight, the fight that Professor Hulk had with Superman in the Marvel DC Universe crossover. Now, for those who don't recall, Professor Hulk was the Hulk persona that was created by the Ringmaster and Doc Samson to sort of bring the Hulk under control, to sort of put Banner's mind in charge of the Hulk, but it didn't really merge his personalities. His idea was to merge all of his personalities, but they realized they couldn't really merge his personalities in the short time that it would take to prevent a Hulk from destroying the world. And so they just sort of created a new, better personality. And when the Hulk is fighting Superman, he makes this point about how he doesn't have that rage that he used to have. He had to try to tap into that rage to defeat Superman and save the Marvel Universe from being replaced by the DC Universe. And, of course, he fails to do that because he is not the, unlimited, boundless rage of the Hulk. Now, that Professor Hulk was thought to turn into the Maestro. Doc Green is being thought to turn into the Maestro. And I just saw that nice parallel there between that idea that because they are the smart Hulks, because they are these personas of the Hulk, trying to separate from that rage, being the intellect with the strength, they don't really have they don't have access to the power of the Hulk. Because, Ross cleans his clock. Just, even as they're destroying half the planet and causing tremors throughout most of the continent, he knocks out the Hulk and sends Banner falling to his death. So I'm guessing that Red Hulk comes up and captures him because next month we have another confrontation. And if it was just the Hulk falling to his death, that wouldn't be a very, or Banner falling to his death, that wouldn't be a very good story. That would be a very short book, is all I'm saying. But thumbs up on the big fight. It was great. Deadpool, as always, wonderful in it as a side character. And just happy to see Ross clean the clock of Doc Green. I have not been happy with Doc Green since he decided to be all evil. And, it's good to root for Ross for once. And he got to prove that he, damn it, is the strongest one there is. What did you think?
Oh, yeah. Big thumbs up. Animals eating Deadpool's legs as they're separated from his body.
Yes. It's like, man. And he loved those legs, too. Those are his favorite legs. Oh, boy. Now, if you cut a Deadpool in half, why don't the legs grow a new Deadpool? Why does the Deadpool grow new legs? That's always the question. Now, for those of you out there who dropped the $10 to buy Deadpool 250, I think you'll agree. I mean, I'm going to say I haven't even read all of it yet, and I'm giving it my biggest thumbs up of the week. Just from the 3 stories I was able to read before we had to do this podcast, I'm going to say it was well worth it.
That's Deadpool hitting the table.
Yes. Yeah, it is a big book, and not a lot of ads, but and I don't even know half these characters because I haven't been reading Deadpool. But I'm sorry.
I said, yeah, for that money, you shouldn't get that many ads.
Yeah.
Well, that was my only problem with the book.
But
is a lot of the stories were just about his supporting cast and not really him.
Oh yeah, well, that's why I only read the Deadpool stories. In our first one, Deadpool, spoiler, decimates Ultimatum, the entire Ultimatum crew, completely kills them all. And I love the line he says. He says, "I can't undo the mistake of killing everyone on their helicarrier, but I can correct the mistake of not killing everyone who wasn't." And he does a great bit about how he starts in the middle of battle, he starts getting murder drunk and hallucinating who he's killing, and imagines killing the Daughters of the American Revolution and the Shriners. Classic Deadpool. Before just wiping out every last member of Ultimatum, ending with the new Flag Smasher. And probably one of the goriest scenes I've seen is the whole straight through Flag Smasher's head. And then he gives up being Deadpool forever to be Captain Wade Wilson on a stolen yacht with all his friends. Just as the last incursion occurs, and everything bursts into flames, and he holds his daughter, and he can live with this finale. If I'm going out, at least I'm taking everyone with me. The end. Now, they say Deadpool is really, 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 really dead, but then technically isn't everyone? And, we know he's coming back for Civil War. Not Secret War, but the first Secret War. So, our next story that I actually did get to read was Shikla's Catching Up. They go to bar trivia, not very good at it, and Cap. And here we get actually old tiny Cap, not super soldiered up Cap, which is nice to see. At least one artist following what the official statement is, and he gives Shikla his getting caught up with what you've missed since you were frozen, kit, and she gets caught up, and but then the bar where they do their bar trivia night is closed. Taco the dog gets she's actually, as it turns out, just a hallucination. Because the beast was not about to transfer. I just got this. This is a reference to an old cartoon, old Looney Tune cartoon. Well, I'm guessing maybe that's the reference. Maybe they just decided to give the dog pool some of Deadpool. But there was a cartoon you may recall where guy's out walking his dog and gets run over, and the ambulance comes up and says, "Quick, I need plasma." Guy says plasma. Says dog plasma. Gets it mixed up, and so the dog gets the human plasma, and the guy gets the dog plasma, and then the guy starts acting like the dog, and wackiness ensues. And the dog, of course, acts like the human. But fun story that. And then I did not read the Apocalypse story. Did you read that one?
Yeah, I made it through them all.
You want to give your update on the next two stories? Because I don't come back in after that until we get to the roast. Or do you just want to jump to the roast?
Well, the Evan story, he wants to prove he's still bad, so he tries to rob a bank, and then the Reavers show up, and he takes out the Reavers, but he stops robbing the bank because Aunt May fakes a heart attack.
Aunt May saves.
And then the other story is S.H.I.E.L.D. agent Adsit, who's been hanging around with Deadpool. Deadpool's not even in the story. Adsit helps Spider-Man stop a bunch of man-wolves. Instead of just the man-wolf, there's a bunch because, I don't know, a moonstone exploded in New York and infected a bunch of people. And all through the battle, Adsit is asking Spider-Man, he says, "How do you keep your sense of humor in the middle of a battle?" And Spider-Man's like, "I don't know if this is the time." But Adsit finds his sense of humor in the end, because when is it Coulson? I believe it's Coulson asks him to dock the helicarrier. He says, "Guide this giant vessel into that gaping crevice before it explodes." And Adsit finishes with, "That's what she said."
There you go.
Yeah. Did you read the story with the thing in it with Ben Grimm?
No, I would have liked to, because it's got Ben Grimm and Ben Franklin.
That's right.
So it's definitely worth the read, and I will read it, but I have not gotten to yet. No. Yeah, like I said, I don't get back to reading any of these until I get to the. I skipped over those just to get to the roast.
All right, let's get to the roast.
Let's get to the roast. We've been on this a while anyway. It's going to be another short super connectivity, I think. So the roast. Okay. So this is classic. This is essentially the super secret origin of Deadpool, the one that you never knew, and this explains it all. Deadpool touches the cosmic cube, and now what's interesting is he says the cosmic cube. Because he starts seeing things like he says, Spider-Man's a clone. Secret Wars are secret. Inferno is coming. Spider-Man is a clone. Phoenix is dead. Time is flowing. And then that's right when he touches the cosmic cube. Now he gives the cosmic cube to Thanos, except of course I'm assuming he doesn't, because he then has the Infinity Gauntlet, and
he says he uses the cube to put a whammy on Thanos.
Yeah, but I guess my point is that if he had given him the cube as well, that because he has the Infinity Gauntlet, I would assume he wouldn't give him the cube as well, or as we have speculated, maybe he drained the Beyonderishness out of the cube. So he's a Beyonder with an Infinity Gauntlet, and then he decides to have a roast. And this is classic what you have here, because you have him in the fictional Marvel universe, and everyone is being Deadpooled, essentially. Everyone is being manipulated by him in this insane, crazed way. And of course, what you get is that first Doctor Strange and then Reed and Doctor Doom all realize something is wrong. This isn't right. This is not correct. And they realize it's because he has the Infinity Gauntlet. And you have what is, I think, one of the most moving moments you can get with Deadpool, where he puts the universe back with him as the person being manipulated and destroyed, and then he walks out and he talks to us. And he says that the second he put the glove on, he could see us, and goes into this whole tirade, much like Arnold Schwarzenegger in Last Action Hero, about how it's for your amusement. What do you care? Because I'm a fictional character. But that's not actually what he says. Deadpool says, "I'm just as real as you, but you are manipulating me for your amusement." And what's interesting to me about this is because, as I had suggested last week, that Deadpool seeing his universe as fictional might just be an interpretation of what is really going on, and that in truth, what he's seeing is that the Beyonder or Beyonders have been manipulating the universe for all time, in the same way that Doctor Doom has been manipulating the universe for all time, and that everything that we're seeing in the Marvel universe leading up to these Secret Wars is that, and maybe I'm reading way too much into a Deadpool comic, but maybe that is that the reason the universes are destroying is because the Beyonders are coming to understand the universe. And it's sort of like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, where at the end, that this is this experiment they're conducting to understand, life, the universe, and everything. What is the question? What is the answer? Why are things the way they are? And it could be that as they're getting towards that end, that understanding, that's why the universes are ending, and that's what they're trying to get to. But of course, their experiments are rebelling. Not the least of which is Deadpool rebelling against us, the Beyonders, those who sit above, manipulating their lives for our amusement, our edification, and he's sick of it. And he, as he said, these heroes deserve better, and
but that's deep.
Yeah,
especially for a story where the Hulk makes fart jokes.
Yes, well, Deadpool was making fart jokes earlier as well. Frank. Oh wow! Hey, there's another Beyonder reference there, where he called him Frank Latulence, because of course Frank was the Beyonder's pseudonym when he was a mobster for a little while there. Let me just double check to make sure he actually said Frank and not Fred. Might have been Fred, but I think it was Frank Latulence. Let's see here. Yep, Frank Latulence, and so maybe that's another reference. But no, what the other reference in this is? I believe is it the Killing Joke, where no, actually, I thought there was another comic book where someone had made the joke about, but I am Pagliacci. Because it's the old joke about the guy goes to the doctor and says,
Yeah.
my wife is cheating on me. I don't know what to do. And the doctor says, just go see the great clown Pagliacci. No one can be depressed when you watch Pagliacci. And he says, but I am Pagliacci. And that's what Deadpool says, just as he sets the universe right, as he says, Je suis Pagliacci. Shout out to his Canadian roots, man. Says it in French. Je suis Pagliacci. And then the big whammy at the end is when he's yelling at the Beyonders, out walks Howard the Duck. And he's like, hey, how can you do this? And he says, kid, I was you before you came along. Good luck. Glad we could help you work through that. And
MC Howard the Duck.
Yeah. Well, it's which is, that great point, as I was saying earlier about Howard the Duck, which is that, he's disappointed in humanity because he sees things for what they are. He sees the manipulation and the foolhardiness of these superhumans who are just running crazy in this world. And, like I said, it's a great tie-in to that Howard the Duck issue. The fact that Howard knows too. And of course, the only thing that I was a little disappointed is not to have a She-Hulk know too. A She-Hulk nod there, although She-Hulk doesn't always know. It's only in John Byrne's book that she knew. But honestly, I could not think of a deeper, better ending for Deadpool than this, and it was really beautiful. And I tell you, I cannot wait to read Deadpool and Secret Wars because, like I say, I can't. After this, I have to believe that there is going to be something in the Deadpool Secret Wars tie-in that's going to be an answer to what's happening in the big Secret Wars. Much like how the Loki book was necessary to really understand what was going on in Fear itself. I think you're going to have to read Deadpool Secret Wars to understand what's going on in Deadpool, or going on in the big Secret Wars, and what's going to lead to the eventual post-Civil Secret Wars when everything goes back to normal, but maybe not so much. What will the answer be that the Beyonders get from their great experiments? That's what we're going to have to find out. Oh boy, and that has been a super long episode of not super connectivity. Oh, so I have to do super connectivity.
All New Marvel Roundup.
All New Marvel Roundup. Yeah, we haven't even gotten to super connectivity yet. Although I think we did a lot of super connecting here. So consider this your bonus, kids. Keep those cards and letters coming.
So was Deadpool your book of the week?
Oh, without a doubt. Like I said, I haven't even read half of it, and it is just the best book I read. For what it's worth, I live for that. There's a deeper reality going on here. What this reminded me of, very much so, was Age of the Century, and the final books in that. When in that book in Earth, I recently found out 1611, the official designation for the universe in which the stories of the Age of the Century take place. The reality of the century starts to break down, and this idea that he is this character who is influencing that universe, not as Robert Reynolds, almost called him Ryan Reynolds, not as Robert Reynolds, but as this force who sort of wrote himself into the Marvel universe. That is where that when it starts to break down and he starts to realize that his own grip on reality is dreadfully flawed, because he's trying to deny that he is not real. That essentially, to give you a comparison in those last books of Age of the Century, you sort of get this idea that in sort of opposite to Deadpool, the Century is this creature from beyond who is trying to make himself part of this universe, trying to write his story into it. Whereas Deadpool is a character from that universe who has broken free of it. So anyway, it's a great story, man. Now I want to see a Deadpool Century team up. Yeah, that'll be great. So, who've we been, Phil?
Well, I've been Phil, you've been Charlie, I think.
Yes.
But
I was you
you
would
can
wrap it up.
but you can like us now on Facebook. Go to facebook.com/All New Marvel Roundup and Facebook/Super Connectivity Podcast and give us a like on both our pages. And you can get a hold of me at nightwingpdp@gmail.com, and on Twitter I'm at nightwingpdp.
And I am at Charlie Esser on Twitter and superconnectivityblog@gmail.com. Keep those cards and letters coming, kids.
That's right. Come back next week. Come back next week. Secret Wars. It's coming.
Mm-hmm.
Like a Deadpool roast. It's coming right at you.
Roasted Deadpool. Yum. Okay.
Good night, everyone.
Good night. Try the veal. Try the raccoon.
Oh.
Oh.